No place like the Q. Family, it's your favorite queer radio personality, Anna Deshawn, and this is Queer News, your favorite weekly news pod where race and sexuality meet politics, culture, and entertainment.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Elon Musk has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Elon Musk has got to go!
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Elon Musk has got to go. Family, I'm going to keep saying it. Wild and wicked, okay? Those are the words that describe what's happening politically right now. And sometimes we just hear about the evil that's happening, but we don't hear about the good. But let me tell you, the people are rising up. It's happening. And it's not just the people. Our elected officials are there too. They're not being silent. That was Representative Ayanna Pressley rallying outside the Treasury Department to protest Elon Musk, okay, and Doge's involvement in government activities, in our money, okay? And in her speech, she said, this is an unprecedented moment, a constitutional crisis, but we will match their energy. We will match their energy. And she wasn't alone. I saw Elizabeth Warren. I saw Maxine Waters. I saw Jasmine Crockett, okay? And others where they're speaking up too. Also, family, please don't forget the Queer News tip line is open. Send in your stories, send in your people, send in the ideas you think need to be covered on this podcast. It's truly a wonderful surprise to me when you all send me notes, okay, and tell me like, hey, Anna, you should cover this. You should research this. I love it. So thank you. Please keep sending them in. If you don't know how, please check the information in the show notes, okay? And QCrew, what's going on? We got to give a big thank you to Rex for joining the QCrew, okay, this month. Woo, 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 woo. Rex and everyone, a part of the QCrew, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your continued support. This podcast, okay, does not happen without your support, period. It just can. And if we want it to grow, I just need more of you all to continue to commit. As low as $5 a month, okay, is where you can start. And it truly is appreciated. If you believe in the work we do, if you believe LGBTQ stories need to be amplified, if you love and respect how we do the work and how I report on the news, please join the QCrew, okay? I appreciate you. Now for the news. In politics, Voldemort's administration has been very busy, and the people, though, have been busy too. So let's talk about the executive order to ban transgender women in sports. Let's talk about the executive order banning gender-affirming care. Okay, and now let's also talk about the guidance being provided by Lambda Legal around passports and social security updates. Family, I know I'm talking a lot in between the news, but I just want y'all to know, if it's hard to keep up with what's happening every single day, it's hard to keep up, then make Queer News your stop where you can get everything at one time, okay? Because I know it can be overwhelming, but I'm going to do my very best here to provide you a bit of a synopsis of what's happening collectively, and not just the bad, but how we're also looking to resolve it. That's what you're going to get here, okay? Now, in culture and entertainment, our LGBTQ organizations are downsizing. The NFL hosted an LGBTQ football clinic, okay? And a queer podcast is out, a new one, and I want y'all to know about it, okay? So let's get into it. Family, let's get started with politics. You know, sometimes I don't know where to begin with this administration because they are intentionally causing chaos and great harm. But let's just start with the executive order that Voldemort signed on Wednesday, banning transgender women from competing in women's sports. Every time the titles of these orders just are ridiculous. This one is titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. Now, I also want to say again, these executive orders are not law, right? They will absolutely be challenged. These are not laws, but it does invoke the federal government to have to take action. The federal government has to listen to these executive orders. Okay. And that is why it's causing so much chaos, because people don't know what to do. And then people are losing their jobs, and people are getting these offers to quit their jobs, which has been proven to be unconstitutional. And these challenges will continue. But allow me to focus, okay, on this particular executive order. Now, the day after this executive order was signed, the NCAA decided to ban transgender women in sports. Now, this goes against decades long standing that transgender women were allowed to play in sports. The NCAA has been a staunch supporter of transgender women being able to play in sports until last week. And if you don't know, the NCAA, they cover about 500,000 eligible athletes across the country. There's about 1,100 member schools a part of the NCAA. Okay. It is truly the largest governing body for college athletes in the United States. And even their president, Charlie Baker, in December of last year said that he only knows of about 10 transgender athletes. 10. All of this is happening to potentially ban 10 people. This has nothing to do with women's sports. I just want y'all to know that. It has everything to do with eliminating our trans siblings from public life. The NCAA did not have to do this ban. This is not law. This was a decision that they decided to make. The president of the NCAA said this: "We strongly believe that clear, consistent, and uniform eligibility standards would be best serve today's student athletes instead of patchwork of conflicting state laws and court decisions. To that end, President Trump's order provides a clear national standard." It's like they couldn't wait to do it, even though it hasn't been their mandate for over a decade, right? Following clear scientific guidelines. The IOC says there is no presumed advantage based on sex assigned at birth or sex characteristics. And honestly, family, if people really cared about women's sports, they would care about the inequitability of facilities, of pay, marketing, right? The abuse women athletes have suffered at the hands of their coaches, their trainers. Child, if they really cared, right? So we'll keep following the lawsuits that will inevitably ensue, right, because of this executive order and these bans on transgender athletes. And also, I want to say that this is about trans women and not trans men. There are no policies banning trans men from playing in sports. Child, it's some of the most misogynistic and transphobic legislation, period. Now, let's jump into the executive order that Voldemort signed banning gender-affirming care for young people. Well, 14 attorney generals issued a statement this past week denouncing Voldemort's executive order. Now, I want to give a shout out to these attorney generals, okay, who are saying we will stand in our state to protect gender-affirming care for minors. If this is your state, I want you to call your legislators, okay? I want you to call your legislators and tell them thank you. Call your attorney general office and tell them thank you, okay? California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Nevada, Vermont, and Wisconsin. If you live in one of those states, call your attorney general and tell them thank you. You understand? If you don't live in those states, but maybe you're close to that state, okay? Call them up. They need to know that they have your support. They have issued a statement. They said, as state attorney generals, we stand firmly in support of healthcare policies that respect the dignity and rights of all people. Healthcare decisions should be made by patients, families, and doctors, not by a politician trying to use his power to restrict your freedoms. Gender-affirming care is essential, life-saving medical treatment that supports individuals in living as their authentic selves. I mean, what else needs to be said? Politicians should not be in your doctor's office. They just shouldn't. These decisions are up to their parents, and it's up to their doctors. Last week, attorney generals who... Sorry, Ryan. Last week, attorney generals secured a critical win from a federal court that directed the federal government to resume funding Yeah, that had been frozen by Voldemort's administration. That's right. The DOJ sent a notice stating that, quote, federal agencies cannot pause, freeze, impede, block, cancel, or terminate any awards or obligations on the basis of an executive order. Right? So if you hadn't heard that federal freeze, right? It's not constitutional. He can't do it. So as of right now, the critical funding that's needed for gender-affirming care is still real. It's still available. Okay? And if the federal government tries to impede upon this, they're saying they'll take additional legal action. So please hear me. Gender-affirming care from a federal level, the funding is still available. Okay? And if you're in any of these states where these attorney generals have issued these statements, you should be okay. California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Nevada, Vermont, and Wisconsin. We thank you. We thank you. And family, I wish I was done, but I am not. There is more to share. Next in politics, the DOJ, LGBTQ resource group, has decided to shut down after 3 decades. That's right. They were founded in 1992, and that was before same-sex marriage was legal. Right? They existed in a time where people didn't talk about our transgender siblings. Yeah. But today, now, in 2025, the board members have decided to disband the group. They sent an email Tuesday evening saying, in this time of uncertainty and concern, we have taken the extraordinary measure of ceasing operations of DOJ Pride. We have made this decision in the interest and for the protection of all members. One of the people who were a member of this group said, the fact that the board felt the need to dissolve the group, I think that speaks to the fear of retaliation and fear of persecution. I think it's unfortunate that the DOJ's LGBTQ resource group has decided to disband. I think it's unfortunate that they have conceded to the fear, and it's understandable. If you don't work in the federal government, I think it's hard to understand what's happening right now. To say it's unprecedented, I think it can kind of feel tainted a little bit, right? It can kind of feel like it doesn't encompass everything that's happening, but child, is scary. When you think about people and their families, their livelihoods, people are scared. And when people are scared, this is what happens. I'm hopeful that they continue to find community with each other, right? I'm hopeful that this is not forever. Maybe there's other people who want to take it back up. But it's pretty sad news when the Department of Justice's LGBTQ resource group decides to disband. And the next thing I want to talk about, also family, is the guidance that is being provided around passports and Social Security. Lambda Legal, okay? Lambda Legal. Lambda Legal ought to be one of your sources for staying up to date on these issues, okay? Now, I want to tell you that they have released on their Instagram, yes, an identity docs for trans and non-binary people update. Okay, and I want you to know what they're telling you to do. They're saying if you have, for trans folks who have a valid current U.S. passport, regardless of the gender marker, you should not apply to renew or change anything right now. Just don't. If you are good, stay good. Stay out the fray, essentially, okay? As it pertains to Social Security, they are recommending that trans people not submit a gender marker update request to the Social Security Administration right now. Because what? Voldemort's administration has directed them to stop processing gender marker updates associated with Social Security records. So family, trans siblings, if your passport is good, don't do nothing. If your Social Security is good, don't do anything right now. And if you are unsure, they are recommending that you contact an organization, a Lambda Legal site, LGBTQ.org, who is doing transgender rights in your state, and get proper guidance, because this is absolutely a state-by-state situation. Okay. Now, I also want to say thank you to GLAAD, right? They put together a press release that outlined some of the items in a very condensed and formatted way. Because let's be clear, I focus here on queer news, but we are literally in every single part of life. And so to not talk about the other ways in which Voldemort's administration is impacting us, I think would be an injustice to this work. And so I just want to run these down so that you have an idea of the full scope and depth and breadth of what's happening. Because I know we're hearing bits and pieces, but I think this is a really nice rundown. And so I'm just gonna read it. Yeah? All right, let's go. And once again, big thank you to GLAAD for this. So as it pertains to Trump's executive orders that have been blocked in court, the one targeting birthright citizenship, right? Indefinitely blocked, blatantly unconstitutional. This is in 22 states, 5 lawsuits, right? As of the 5th of February. And if you don't know, birthright citizenship is in the Constitution so that Black folks could become citizens after slavery. And Voldemort's administration was trying to roll it back, right, to prevent Latinx people who were born in this country, the DACAs of our country, from being citizens. It's been indefinitely blocked, okay? Blatantly unconstitutional. Next, targeting trans inmates, right? It's been blocked twice. Blocked twice. This means that transgender women, right, need not be transferred to men's facilities based upon Trump's orders. It's been blocked twice. He's been trying to block them from getting their medications. The next executive order that's been blocked in court, targeting the federal funding freeze. We just talked about that, right, as it pertains to gender-affirming care. It's been blocked twice. Our LGBTQ organizations are fighting every single day in the courts to block these executive orders. So the birthright citizenship one, the one targeting trans inmates, and the one targeting federal funding freezes, all have been blocked in court. Now let's talk about the lawsuits that have been filed. I'm telling you, I really enjoyed this rundown. Transgender military service, right? GLAAD Law, the National Center for Lesbian Rights, right? On behalf of 6 active transgender military personnel and 2 recruits have filed lawsuits against this transgender military ban. Also, Lambda Legal and the Human Rights Campaigns Foundation have also filed legal challenges. And let me just say, Lambda Legal has successfully defeated Voldemort's previous attempt to ban trans service members. I've also seen reports transgender service members are saying, we gonna keep serving. Okay, they said we gonna keep serving, period. Which I think takes a whole hell of a lot of courage. As it pertains to gender-affirming care, right, in healthcare, the ACLU, PFLAG, GLAM, on behalf of transgender young people, have filed lawsuits. Yes, Lambda Legal is filing a lawsuit. New York Attorney General Lolita James, the real one, okay, told hospitals that they would be violating state law if they stopped offering care for transgender people under the age of 19 in response to Voldemort's executive order. She's telling everybody in New York, I don't care what he said. It is our law that gender-affirming care is legal here. And then when it comes to DEI, child, plenty of lawsuits have been filed. Higher education professors, university diversity offices, the city of Baltimore, unlawfully vague and sowing chaos and confusion. There are lawsuits being had, okay, family, in every piece of government right now. And it is a lot. It is a lot. But I had to tell you all of it. I don't want y'all to leave this podcast with just a little bit of it. I want you to have all of it of what you can have today. And just know, for every order, there is a lawsuit that is impending. There is somebody willing and ready to fight it. And I'm just going to keep you informed on what happens next, okay? Family, I just wanted to end politics with a couple of good stories, okay? One, Judge Norma Jennings. You may not know her name, but let me tell you who she is. She just became New York State's first Black lesbian civil court judge. She was sworn in at the Brooklyn Law School. And what I love about this is that we often don't know our judges, but today and always, judges are critical to ensuring democracy. And we need more judges that look, love, and believe like us in these courtrooms, blocking Voldemort's executive orders. You feel me? Jennings thanked the crowd and urged everyone to keep fighting for justice, especially today in the face of all the anti-LGBTQ executive orders. Other good news, Pennsylvania State Rep Malcolm Kenyatta, who I had the opportunity to interview at the Democratic National Convention last year, made history after being elected to serve on the Democratic National Committee as vice chair. That's right, he became the first openly Black gay man to serve in this role. And poetically enough, it all took place on the first day of Black History Month. Okay, Kenyatta said this: "Thank you, Democrats. Last night I was honored to be elected vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. Now let's get to work rebuilding our party for our future and for our working families." And the Democratic Party got a lot of rebuilding to do, and this is a really good sign. Now, family, I think we've had a lot. That was a lot. I think it's a good time to take a break. Let's all take a deep collective breath, yes? When we get back, we'll have culture and entertainment. Family, I want you all to take a minute and visit e3radio.fm. That's our official website. And I want you all to visit because our Director of Community Partnerships, Carter Cavazos, has written his first blog. And it is about our trip to Las Vegas for the Creating Change Conference. He talks about what the conference means to him, but also what we can be doing right now to sustain. He uses the word resiliency, which he admits he doesn't even like, but it encompasses what needs to happen right now. He gives us 3 tips, and I'm not going to give them to you. You got to read the blog. He also talks about our adventures in Las Vegas, the food, the shows, the food. Thank you, Visit Las Vegas, for such an amazing experience that we had. He shares pictures of our time together with also our fellow journalists who are covering queer culture and queer news across the country. It was an unbelievable, unforgettable time. Truly, thank you, Task Force. Thank you, Creating Change. Thank you, Visit Las Vegas, for the experience. And you got to read Carter's blog to really hear all about it.
Hi, I'm Alicia Galati, podcast strategist and host of Top 100 Marketing Podcast, Listeners to Leads. Podcasting can feel very one-track and lonely. So my goal with Listeners to Leads is to not only support you in growing and monetizing your show by turning your listeners into leads, but also to be able to navigate podcasting in a way that feels right for you. Join me every week on your favorite podcast listening app.
Family, we have a sponsor for our February episodes, the Church Within a Church movement. This movement exists to combat the religious harm inflicted upon LGBTQ folks by the church. I joined them a couple decades ago, which is hard to believe, and I found them to be a beacon of light in some of the darkest places. With courage, integrity, and care, their purpose is to live justice through their work. And one way they do this is by welcoming LGBTQ clergy who have left or been kicked out of their denominations because of who they are and because of who they love. This year, they are ordaining 3 LGBTQ folks, and I'm so glad to know them and to know their work and how they care for others. So thank you, Church Within a Church, for your support of this work and your work in the world. And family, I look forward to telling you more about the Church Within a Church movement throughout Black History Month. If you want to learn more, visit cwac.us. That's cwac.us. Family, welcome back to the show. Now let's jump into culture and entertainment. And let's start with culture. I want you all to be aware that our LGBTQ organizations are facing a really, really hard time. As we, the people, face a hard time, our organizations then inherently also face hard times. Because, yes, as they might get federal funding, sure, and they might get a grant this year, sure. But the people, it's the people that help to sustain these organizations. And when the economy is rough, when people don't know what to expect tomorrow, then their giving, right, also changes. And our organizations are being impacted in a very, very real way. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, I reported about the Trevor Project announcing, right, that they're going to be downsizing and transforming. Yeah. Now they said that select roles are going to be eliminated, but there'll also be new roles, and looking to prioritize those members impacted into those roles. But still, they are downsizing. HRC, right, just announced it's laying off 20% of its workforce, which is going to equate to about 50 employees, which equates to 50 families. That's a big impact. Here in Chicago, we've had community organizations having to lay people off as well. It's tough out here, family. And so I'm sharing this so that you all know that community is one-to-one. We're in a place where we have all of these wonderful organizations doing the work, and they are having a hard time. And so if you listen to this podcast, you know I talk about talent, treasure, yes, and time. So if you've got time, if you've got some talent, and you got some treasure, find that organization that you relate with so closely, that you believe in so much, that you would decide to give some of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Because let me tell you, right now, they're going to need it. Because they will all not make it through these next 4 years. They just all are not going to make it. In other culture news, how can I not report on the Super Bowl? It is a cultural pastime in this country. Yes, I was watching it at home myself, and I was so happy to see the Eagles come out with the win. I'm a Bears fan, okay? I bleed orange and blue even when it makes no sense. But I'm also a Jalen Hurts fan. I appreciate, okay, that he has an all-women team. It's from his agent to his communications people, okay? And I'm so happy for him. Now, I'll also say I'm reporting about this because the NFL has also made a commitment to LGBTQ inclusivity. And it's not something that they're going to send a press release about, okay? It is not something that you're going to see plastered, okay, on the front page. But I want you all to know that it was the third year in a row that the NFL hosted its Super Bowl Pride Football Clinic, okay? It takes place and is free. GLAAD is a big part of putting it on. Big Frida performed and everything. NFL staff, players spoke directly to the young people who attended the clinic, which included Trey McBride, who was a tight end for the Arizona Cardinals, who was raised by two moms. And he went on to say, sometimes it may seem like sports are not necessarily the most welcoming place for people in the LGBTQ community, but we're here to tell you that you have plenty of allies. How dope is that? According to the Vice President of Social Responsibility at the NFL, Claire Goff said this year's event was the highest attended ever. We've learned that political controversies are going to come and go. It's not why we do the work. And these are the people, we need to protect. These are the programs that are so important. When I was reading the story about the clinic and hearing about the queer youth that showed up, one young man who never even picked up a football but was learning the dances with the Eagles cheerleaders, okay? When I read stories about trans youth who showed up, who were scared to try out or learn anything in their school but showed up to this and was able to gain some skills and even think about maybe trying out for their team, these are the things that make a difference. These are the things that make a difference. Family, for our next story in culture and entertainment, y'all know I love podcasts, okay? I have a whole podcast company called The Cube that we're building to amplify the best Black and brown podcasts out here. I host this podcast. I have The Head Nod. We've got others that we've produced ourselves at The Cube. And there's a new podcast that dropped, is my point. It's called Red for Revolution, and it's being presented by Radiotopia, and I want to listen to it with y'all. So if you're interested, okay, let me know. Reply to the email, okay? Reply to our newsletter and let me know. We're going to be doing this on the Substack, and I just want to listen to it with other people. And let me just tell you a little bit about it, okay? Red for Revolution is an audio drama, which I absolutely adore audio dramas, okay? And this one centers on intergenerational stories of Black women, queer love, and liberation. Now I'm going to actually read you what they wrote on the website as well. We meet Jasmine, an 18-year-old grappling with her queer identity, first crush, and the delicate task of mending her relationship with her homophobic mother. Now, as Jasmine seeks solace and guidance from her grandmother, we are transported back to 1971 to follow the passionate love affair between jazz singer Lorraine Giovanni and activist Ella Ali. Two remarkable women from vastly different backgrounds with opposing political views and living oceans apart embark on a romance that defies all conventions. So this is what this audio drama is about. And there are celebrities up and through this, okay? Loretta Devine, Rutina Wesley, Adrienne Marie Brown, Jennifer Beals, Anjanou Ellis-Taylor, Danny Glover, okay? I want to listen to this with y'all. So I'm going to talk about it on TikTok. I'm going to talk about it on Instagram. I'm going to put it on our Substack, on my threads. Substack is going to be the home for it though. Okay. And I just want to listen to it with other folks. I just think it would be fun. And I think it's also dope to support Black women who are telling Black queer stories. Yes. Yes. Oh, and family, you already know I am all into Unrivaled. If you need a break from all the political stuff, okay, that's happening. They are starting the one-on-one tournament this week. Yes, 23 players are competing. Yo, I am looking at the lineup, wondering who is going to win this. You got Nafisa Collier, Chelsea Gray, okay, Kalia Copper, Derek Hammy, Skylar Diggins-Smith, Jordan Canada, Jackie Young, Rakia Jackson, Breonna Stewart, Aaliyah Edwards, Alicia Gray, Lexi Hall. I don't know who's gonna win, okay? But what I do know is that they are vying for a $200,000 cash prize. The 4 final players will get $25,000 each. The runner-up will make $50,000, okay? And to build team camaraderie, you know what they're doing? The tournament winners, Unrivaled teammates, will actually get $10,000 and they ain't even did nothing. So family, if you want to keep up with Unrivaled, I put together a calendar. It's in the show notes. You can download the ICS file if you subscribe to the newsletter. Get in there. Okay, take your mind off of all the things happening in the world and go watch some of the best athletes in the world do their thing who just happen to be queer, okay? Yes, indeed. Family, you know it's time for Anna's Got a Word because Anna's always got a word. And the word for today is coming from Zora Neale Hurston, who said this: if you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. I'll run it back. Okay, she said, if you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. I was reminded of this quote this past week at an event, and so I'm sharing it with you. Family, we won't be silent. We can't be. No one in history will be able to say we enjoyed this. They will say we used our voices, we used our platforms, we spoke our truth to power. That's what I want them to say, that we did everything we could to ensure generations to come were better off, yes, than this moment that we're having right now. I want you all to know that. Okay? We were here before all this mess. We'll be here after all of this mess. Legislation does not kill our humanity. It just doesn't see it. I see you. We see each other. And that's why we need each other, okay? All right. Now y'all come back next week, okay? Talk to you then. Peace. If you've enjoyed what you heard, rate and review us inside your favorite podcasting app. This podcast is written and produced by me, Anna Deshawn. Podcast editing by Ryan Woodhall, and brought to you by E3 Radio and distributed on The Cube. We are Queer News Done Right.